PBS Utah presents the Governor's Monthly News Conference, an exchange between Utah reporters and Governor Spencer Cox.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see all of you again. Thank you for coming out today.
And we would like to introduce John Monet. He's a senior at Judge Memorial High, and he's here as part of the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs. And John, go ahead with your question.
Hello. In July of 2021, Utah received a little over $300 million to help with the opioid epidemic in Utah. At the time, you said that you looked forward to working with the legislature to determine the best use of these funds to benefit Utahns with the opioid crisis. It's been 6 months since then and the legislative session. What have you done in that time, and what are you doing in the future with that money?
Yeah, so we have a task force that meets together regularly and talks about how that's going to be distributed. We've also had those conversations with the legislature. Those conversations are still ongoing. We haven't actually gotten the money yet. So that settlement, although proposed, is still working its way through the system. The biggest discussions were around which local governments were going to opt in with the state government, because the way the settlements worked, there was some friction there over how much money the state would get versus how much money the local governments would get. So what we've been working on right now is just figuring out how to divide that money. We finally came to an agreement a couple weeks ago that allows it to be distributed evenly. So basically 50-50 split between the state and the locals. Now, determining exactly where that's going to be spent or how that's going to be spent hasn't been fully decided yet. So we will be moving on once those agreements are all signed and the money starts to come in. Then we'll be moving on to the next piece of that. We certainly have some ideas about where it should be spent with our Department of Health, who's been working on this significantly. Local governments have been working on it as well. There's several areas. Obviously, a big portion of this will be spent on prevention and helping prevent opioid abuse in any way possible. The other piece of this will definitely need to be spent on mitigation, really trying to mitigate the effects that this opioid epidemic has had on our society. And there's a disproportionate impact that has happened in our rural communities, for sure, as deaths of despair have risen. And how do we help instill hope? How do we improve economies in such a way that people feel whole, people have wonderful communities, people can provide for their families, and can avoid some of the hopelessness and despair that comes from these. So there are several programs out there. We're evaluating those programs right now, seeing how effective they are. We want to make sure that we don't waste this opportunity and spend this money in ways that won't make a difference. So as we evaluate these programs, see which ones are working and which aren't, I think we'll be able to make a real impact. I will also know that we don't get all of that money all at once. It comes over the course of a decade or more, and so we'll be getting those tranches of money and then making sure we're spending them wisely. Great question. Thank you, John.
Thank you.